Do you need a reminder of God's great grace? I've got one. And no matter what your life story looks like so far, I want to encourage you that God is the author of your story. And the summary of your story is not your shame or your failures. The summary of your story is God's great grace. God comes to us in our time of need, and by God's grace and love, He helps us. He helps us get through our struggles. You're never alone. You're never alone. Today, I want to share with you a brief example from John chapter 8, in which we see this plot twist of grace in action. I understand if you don't have 8 minutes. I understand. Let us know how to pray for you. But if you've got the time, and if you want to open your Bible or just listen to me as I share the story, you're going to find great encouragement in John chapter 8. Imagine for a moment that you can see this story unfold. That's her. That's her right there. The woman caught in the act of adultery. She's standing in the center of the circle. Those men around her, well, those are the religious leaders of their day. They're called Pharisees, the self-appointed custodians of conduct. And the other man, the one in the simple clothes, the one sitting on the ground, the one looking at the face of the woman, that's Jesus, God on earth. And Jesus has been teaching. But the woman, well, she's been cheating. And the Pharisees are out to stop them both. Do you remember this phrase? Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. That's in John chapter 8, verse 4. Oh, how that accusation, it rings off the courtyard walls. Caught in the act of adultery. The words alone are enough to make you blush. The words imply doors slammed open and covers jerked back. Caught in the act, in the arms, in the moment, in the embrace. Caught. Aha! What have we here? In an instant, she is yanked from a moment of private passion to public spectacle. Heads poke out of the windows as the posse pushes her, guides her through the streets. Dogs bark. Neighbors turn. The city sees. As she passes, heads turn. And from now on, when her name is mentioned, the people will remember her act. Moral failure finds easy recall. The greater travesty, however, goes unnoticed. What the woman did is shameful. But what the Pharisees did, despicable. According to the law, adultery was punishable by death, but only if 2 people witnessed the act. There had to be 2 eyewitnesses. Question: how likely are 2 people to be eyewitnesses to an act of adultery? What are the chances of 2 people stumbling upon an early morning flurry of forbidden love and embrace? Unlikely. But if you do, odds are it's not a coincidence. So I wonder, how long did the men peer through the window before they barged into the room? How long did they lurk in the shadows or behind the curtains before they stepped in or stepped out? What of the man? Adultery requires 2 participants, right? Where is the man? What happened to him? Could it be that he slipped out? The evidence leaves little doubt. This was a trap. She was caught in the act of adultery. She was caught. But she'll soon see that she is not the catch. She is only the bait. Here's what the Pharisees said to Jesus. The law of Moses. Commands that we stone to death every woman who does this. What do you say? What do you say we should do? Pretty cocky, this committee of high ethics. Pretty proud of themselves, these agents of righteousness. This will be a moment they long remember, the morning that they foil and snag the mighty Nazarene. As for the woman, why, she's collateral damage. She's immaterial, merely a pawn in their game. Her future, it's unimportant. Her reputation, who cares if it's ruined? She's a necessary yet dispensable part of their plot and their plan. So the woman stares at the ground. Her sweaty hair dangles. Her tears drip hot with hurt. Her lips are tight. Her jaw is clenched. And she knows she's been framed. No need to look up. She'll find no kindness. She looks at the stones in the hands of the men, squeezed so tightly that fingertips turn white. And she thinks of running, but where? Where would she go? The woman has nowhere to turn. Nowhere to turn. And what does Jesus do? He writes in the sand. Yes, the same finger that engraved the commandments, the same finger that seared the warning on the wall of Belshazzar, now scribbles in the courtyard floor. And as he writes, he speaks plot twist of grace. Anyone here who has never sinned can throw the first stone at her. The young Pharisees looked to the old look in their hearts, and John says that they are the first to drop their stones. And as they turned to leave, the young who were so cocky with borrowed courage and convictions do the same, and the only sound is the thud, thud, thud of rocks in the shuffle of feet. And Jesus and the woman are left alone. With the jury gone, the courtyard becomes the judge's chambers, and the woman awaits his verdict. Surely, she thinks, surely a sermon is brewing. No doubt he's gonna demand that I apologize. But the judge doesn't speak. His head is down. Perhaps he's still writing in the sand. And he seems a bit surprised when he realizes that she's still there. And he says, "Woman, where are they? Has no one judged you guilty?" And she answers, "No one. No one, sir." And then Jesus says, "I also don't judge you guilty. You may go now. Don't sin anymore." Now, friend, if you've ever wondered how God reacts when you fail, please frame these words and hang them on the wall and read them. Ponder them. Drink from them. Stand below them and let them wash over your soul. Let Jesus stand beside you as you retell the events of the darkest nights of your life, of your soul. And then listen. Listen. Listen carefully, my friend. He's speaking. He says, I don't judge you guilty. I don't judge you guilty. And then watch carefully. He's writing. He's leaving a message. Not in the sand, but on a cross. Not with his hand, but with blood. And his message has two words for you. Not guilty. My friend, because of this act of grace, you can be sure that you're never without hope and you're never without help. Because God is always present with you. You are never, ever alone.